So we're going to talk about how we can solve for a little literal equation in something like this, where I have x in both terms. So what I'm going to talk about first is what it means to factor. So I'm going to start with what if I had something like this, where I had x and then 3b minus 7, that what I do is I distribute the x through, and I get y equals 3bx minus 7x, and that is where this would have come from. And so what I want to do is take that equation and go backwards. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to take these x's that are in each term, and I'm going to undistribute. So my goal is to undistribute. And we call this factoring. We're factoring out the x. But the math you're doing is undistribute. So if I have this equation, what I want to do is go backwards and say I'm going to take the x out like I would have it before I distributed, and say I have 3b minus 7. Now, it still looks really complicated, but if I had something like this, where I know I've got this x times some really big thing, what if I had something, so this is a what if. What if my problem looked like this, and it was x times just a really big number, 6075928, something like this. Well, what I would do is I would say, well, I'm going to take the really big number here, and I'm going to divide it on both sides. Right? That's what I would do. And that would get my x isolated, because these would cancel out to 1. Well, it's the same thing. I just have something really big right here that's multiplied by the x. So I'm going to go back to my original problem and say, well, if I have y equals x times some really big weird thing, I can do the same thing I did up here and say, well, I'm just going to divide both sides by this really weird big thing. Because the math only cares about the opposite operation, not what that thing looks like. And so when I'm done, I end up with y over 3b minus 7 equals